All right, I'm going to go ahead and call to order the regular city council meeting for May 16th, 2022. Looks like we have a quorum with all present except Councilmember Saunders. With that, we'll move on to invocation and pledge of allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Gardner.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day that you blessed us with here in Maumelle, Father, and we're just so thankful for the opportunity to serve the city of Maumelle today and in our role as elected officials, God. We ask for wisdom in all things that we do to better this community, Father. We're also so thankful for all those that serve this community day in and day out, and we appreciate their service to make Maumelle a better place. We ask for wisdom tonight, God. Help us to make the best decisions possible for this community, and please allow us to find someone to serve each and every day. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Next order of business is the approval of minutes. Y'all received a copy of the May 2nd meeting minutes. If there's no discussion on that, I'd entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. I do not have any public comment cards at this time, so we'll move on to financial statement review. Liz, you're up.
In the HDMI? Maybe? Good evening. We are going to take a look here at the financial statements as of April 30th, 2022. Starting off with our general fund revenues. County millage tax year-to-date is $192,000 behind budget year-to-date, $48,000 less than the prior year. We've got timing of receipts here. We get the big one in May. Actually, we've already received it, so it'll bump us back up, so the next month we should look a lot better. Franchise fees, current year-to-date is $35,000 ahead of budget year-to-date and $42,000 more than the prior year. Our state turnback funds are $16,000 behind budget year-to-date and $9,000 more than the prior year. If you remember on state turnback, that's their fiscal year is different from ours, so they'll close out in June, and then we usually see some extra funds come in July or August. So I'm not overly concerned at this point that we're tracking a little bit behind budget. Current year-to-date on county sales tax is $104,000 ahead of budget year-to-date and $201,000 more than the prior year. City sales tax is $4,000 behind budget year-to-date and $18,000 more than the prior year. We talked about that a little bit last month. We've had some rebate credits on the local cap rebates on sales tax for the city sales tax that have kind of dropped us down a little bit. Police department, current year-to-date is $82,000 behind budget year-to-date, $31,000 more than the prior year. We've got the timing of the quarterly PSAP 911 payments and the LOPP turnback funds that we get in July. That'll make us look under budget for a while. Same thing in the fire department. Our current year-to-date is $60,000 behind budget year-to-date and $17,000 more than the prior year. Parks and Rec, current year-to-date, their fees are $54,000 behind budget year-to-date, but $21,000 ahead of the prior year. And our senior wellness center is $35,000 ahead of budget year-to-date and $41,000 more than the prior year. All other department revenues are ahead of or near budget year-to-date, and they're ahead of the prior year. Overall, revenues for the year are $29,000 behind budget year-to-date, $456,000 more than the prior year. On the expense side, our expenditures in most departments remain below budget year-to-date, other than city services, which is where we have a lot of those annual renewals that hit towards the beginning of the year. So at the end of March, our fund balance is $3.8 million over the required minimum balance. Our current year revenues are currently $610,000 less than expenses. The unappropriated balance in the general fund related to the ARPA funds is 2.6 million, and I added that on here and in your packet so that you would kind of see our tracking on that. Now that hasn't all been spent, but that's what you have now appropriated out of those funds. So taking a look at the street fund, the county millage tax, $55,000 behind budget year to date, $13,000 less than the prior year. And the state turnback funds is $127,000 under budget year to date and $39,000 more than the prior year. The street aid program is $13,000 ahead of budget year to date and $23,000 more than the prior year. And both streets and senior services transportation remain under budget year to date. The current available street fund balance at the end of, that should say April, it says March, was $5 million. And sanitation fund, current year to date sanitation revenues were $1,000 ahead of budget year to date, $6,000 more than the prior year. Their operating expenses are right at budget year to date and $70,000 more than the prior year. Personnel expenses are $95,000 under budget year to date and $5,000 more than the previous year. Current available sanitation fund balance at the end of April was $1.9 million. No changes in our capital improvement fund. Police and fire fund remains ahead of budget year to date and ahead of the previous year on that tax that comes into that fund. And then our FEMA grant is kind of trickling along slowly. Not a whole lot of movement there. I know they're still waiting on some stuff to really get that project going. And then you'll notice the COVID-19 relief fund, all of our ARPA funds were expended in 2021, according to our books, and leaving that fund balance in that COVID-19 relief fund as zero. So unless we end up with other funding that needs to be kept in a separate fund that's related to COVID-19, I won't continue to add that fund to the financial reports if there's no activity to it. And then just a quick finance department update. Our 2019 annual comprehensive financial report. An audit is completed on the city side. The accounting firm is completing their internal review process. So we should have the reports to the council in the next week or two. We're just waiting for them to give us the final audit letters and everything else to plug into those reports. The 2020 actuarial valuation for the elected official pension plan, started working on that. We did an RFQ and selected an actuary. It's not a big project, but we have to have that done. Should have been done in 2020, but it has to have, or at the end of 2020. So we have to have that done in order to complete the 2020 annual report. And then we'll start work on 2020 as soon as we get the final finish on 2019. So.
Thank you. Any council member Mosley?
Yes. If you look at the general fund here and looking at the 2022 budget revised, you know, the expenses and the...
What page are you on, Councilmember?
I'm on page 4.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. You've got total revenues of $15,762,000, and then expenses of $15,704, and that's kind of what we're going for. We're having some mid-year budget revisions and things that the mayor's presenting us, and there's one like $80,000 tonight and that sort of thing. And I'm curious here. I'm closing the ARPA funds into this. Makes it a little cloudier for me here, but in general, looking at what our revised budget is, how are we looking to come out for the year in your ballpark gut feel perspective? Right now we're $612,000 under budget on expenditures and about the same as far as what the budget is on revenue. So is that trend going to continue, or are we going to end up coming out better than expected?
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a city have a year where they ever spent every single, or any organization where they spent every single penny of their budgeted expense funds. So overall, once some of these, we get some of these revenue wins that are tracking a little bit behind, I have a feeling it's gonna start looking like our revenues are ahead of budget. So as long as our expenses track to budget. But most of the changes that you're seeing, on that revised budget are either they were rollover, purchases from the end of last year that rolled over because they were committed at the end of the year but not completed yet. So you'll see that too in the sanitation fund we had, or the street fund. The paving project wasn't quite finished at completing, so we had some fairly large PO rollovers from one year. But everything else is on page 18 of your report, where we talk about all of the different budget resolutions that have
Right.
passed in the year.
Right.
And most of these are related to the ARPA funds. So as of right now, the $10,000 for the fire chief recruitment and the two resolutions that you're looking at tonight are the only ones that are truly coming out of what we had in general fund before we put all of the ARPA funds in the general fund. Everything else that we've amended has been use of those ARPA funds that you appropriated for this year.
Okay.
And that's what's reflected on that page 4 report where you're looking at that,
Okay, so-
those changes.
So those the ARPA things are not reflected in the revised budgets?
They are.
Oh, they are?
They are. So where you look is that excess or deficiency of revenues over expenditure, that line, on that page 4 report, our original 2022 budget had an excess of $23,838 that we hadn't appropriated, basically. We didn't appropriate all of the revenues we budgeted. That is now using a fund balance of $725,645. Most of, other than, at this point in time, $10,000 of that is all ARPA.
Okay. Well, yeah, my deal is I do not like mid-year budget revisions unless we're on track to really do well for the year and beat the budget by significant amounts. So that's what I was trying to get a feel of. And are you comfortable with all these budget resolutions that have been coming along? I mean,
Absolutely. Because like at this point in time, we've actually not dipped into the fund balance other than with ARPA funds with any of those resolutions, because we had $23,000 in excess in this budget. So
Okay.
we
Okay.
still had $13,000 left of budgeted revenue that was not appropriated
Okay.
in this calendar year.
All
But
right.
again, I think once the franchise fees and the millage tax, the millage tax and the turnback funds, and some of the police and fire revenues, once that lot fee turnback comes in July, I think your revenue picture is really gonna look like we're even ahead of where we budgeted to be on revenues.
Okay.
Which makes the expense side even more. And we ended last year almost $1.3 million ahead of the required minimum reserve as well. So
All right.
there's nothing at this point in time that makes me uncomfortable in any way because the funds are available.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any additional discussion? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the financials. I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, we will move on to procedural motion. I'd entertain a motion to have all ordinances and resolutions read by title only.
So moved.
I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We will move now to unfinished business. First up is the third reading of ordinance 1062, accepting dedication of streets and drainage. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1062, An ordinance accepting and confirming the dedication of certain streets and drainage in the preliminary plat for the development known as Pinnacle Heights subdivision upon fulfillment of certain contingencies and for other purposes.
Motion to approve ordinance 1062.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next order of business is Ordinance 1063. It's third reading. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1063, an ordinance accepting and confirming the dedication of certain streets and drainage in the preliminary plat for the development known as Osage Terrace Estates Phase 2D upon the fulfillment of certain contingencies and for other purposes.
Motion to approve ordinance 1063.
We've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 1063 is adopted. Next order of business is the third reading of Ordinance 1064, accepting dedication of streets and drainage. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1064, an ordinance accepting and confirming the dedication of certain streets and drainage in the preliminary plat for the development known as the Reserve at Country Club upon the fulfillment of certain contingencies and for other purposes.
Motion to approve ordinance 1064.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to approve Ordinance 1064. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 1064 is adopted. The next order of business is the third reading of Ordinance 1065, amending the code regarding civil service rules. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1065, an ordinance amending the Maumelle City Code to conform to Civil Service Commission rules and regulation changes and for other purposes.
Motion approved.
We've got a motion. Did I hear a second? Motion and second to approve Ordinance 1065. Was there any discussion on that motion?
This is third reading?
Third reading, yes, sir.
It says second on the title.
Yes.
Okay. So we're clear.
Yes. All right, we have a motion and second. No discussion. Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 1065 is hereby adopted. Next order of business is Resolution 2022-21, updating the Uniform Employee Handbook. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, Pulaski County, Arkansas, Resolution Number 2022-21, a resolution updating the Uniform Employee Handbook to conform to a Civil Service Commission rules and regulation change and for other purposes.
Motion to adopt resolution 2022-21.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to adopt. Was there any discussion on that? All right, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes. Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Next order of business is the second reading of Ordinance 1066, amending a compensation schedule. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1066, an ordinance amending the compensation schedule for the elected position of Mayor of the City of Maumelle and for other purposes.
Is there any discussion on ordinance 1066? Seeing none, this will be on third reading at the next city council meeting. Next order of business is the second reading of ordinance 1067, amending a compensation schedule. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1067, an ordinance amending the compensation schedule for the elected position of the City Clerk Treasurer of the City of Maumelle.
Is there any discussion on ordinance 1067? Seeing none, ordinance 1067 will be on third reading at the next council meeting. Next order of business is ordinance 1068, amending compensation schedule. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1068, an ordinance amending the compensation schedule for the elected position of City Attorney of the City of Maumelle and for other purposes.
Any discussion on ordinance 1068? Seeing none, it'll be on third reading at the next city council meeting. Next order of business is the second reading ordinance 1069, Pinnacle Towing and Recovery to do business with the city. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1069, an ordinance permitting city employee Patrick McIntyre to conduct business with the City of Maumelle, Arkansas, and prescribing the extent of this authority.
Thank you. Mr. McIntyre is here. I know there was some questions last time that would probably be best addressed by him. If anyone had any questions, he is free to answer them. Yes, sir?
Yeah. I'd like to just ask him a couple of questions here.
Sure.
What percentage of ownership do you have in this company? Can I ask you that?
49%.
49%, okay. And it's family-owned business, so other relatives own?
Yeah, my brother Seth owns the other 51%.
Okay. I think that was the only other question I really had, but I want to mention to you that I do think this is a good law that's on the books, and so I'll probably be voting no on doing this. Mainly, I want to be consistent. I had voted no on another person that had become got appointed to the city council, and she had a contractual relationship with the city, and I voted no on that. And so I do think it's a good law, and I would prefer we didn't do this. So I'll be voting no, but there's nothing personal against it. It's my policy, and I'm being consistent. So thank you.
Okay.
That's all I've got, sir.
Thank you. Mr. McIntyre, did you have anything to add? I know I spoke with you and asked if you could be available to answer questions, but I guess if you're up here, if you have anything, if not, that's perfectly fine.
I don't. If there's any more
Okay.
questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Any additional questions for Mr. McIntyre? Yes, sir.
Just for the process, so basically, this would be one in a pool, and they just go down, there's just a set way they go down through the list, and it just,
Yes.
that's all I need to know, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion on ordinance 1069? Seeing none, it'll be on third reading at the next city council meeting. That concludes unfinished business. We'll move on to new business. The first item of new business is resolution 2022-23, approving a conditional use permit. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Sorry. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, Pulaski County, Arkansas, resolution number 2022-23, a resolution granting a conditional use permit for an accessory building in an open space district, an open space zoning district.
Thank you. This is to put a indoor batting facility at the Diamond Center. This would be paid for and built by the, is it Maumelle Sports Association, the baseball association there. Once built, it'd be dedicated over to the city. I'm happy to answer any questions or do my best to if anyone has any.
Motion to adopt resolution 2022-23.
Second.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I attended the planning meeting and heard all the background and everything, and the Baseball Association has collected the money for this. I think it was like $60,000 they've raised to build this thing, and it took them like 15 years. And so, that's what you call persistence. And, it's, you know, they had an interest in building something that was specific to their program, and they raised the money on their own to do it. And, I used to be involved with that association back when I first came to Maumelle 35 years ago. I had little kids playing baseball, so I was a assistant coach and coached 1 year, and just that's a good organization. Those guys work hard and they do it for the kids, and so they're commended for trying to do something to improve their association. So my hat's off to them. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got a motion second. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Next order of business is the Facilities Board confirmation. Mr. Tom Booth has been, the way the Facilities Board works is the mayor nominates and the city council confirms. I nominated the sole individual that applied for the position. The Facilities Board then takes that application and effectively nominate. I may have said that wrong. They nominate to me a list of 3 people. I appoint someone subject to the confirmation of the city council. Procedural difference. This was the only applicant, though. So nonetheless, I believe we still need a motion to confirm the appointment of Mr. Tom Booth to the Public Facilities Board.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Is there any discussion?
Question, what, can you give us just like a 2-minute summary of what they're working on, or is there anything in process at this point, or are they pretty much in a dormant state, or what are they doing?
Their last meeting was last week, maybe the week prior. The only thing they had on the agenda was discussion of the Club Manor corridor and the Gateway Park. They like to be kept informed of what's going on so that we can so that they can offer to get involved. While at that meeting, I brought up to them a possible land swap, we talked about it before about the mini golf, who is currently slated to go in the industrial park. The Public Facilities Board owns a location a little bit closer, and maybe a better location, over near the to-be-built villages at Maumelle off of Commercial Park. And so they left with that information, and that was the meeting.
Thank you very much, sir.
Did we have a motion second to confirm? Is there any additional discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. The next order of business is Resolution 2022-24 regarding audit services. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2022-24, a resolution requiring an annual audit to be performed in accordance with the guidelines and format prescribed by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, and the United States Government Accountability Office, selecting an auditor and for other purposes.
Liz, can you come on down and tell us what we're looking at, please? For the record, I know what we're looking at. We've talked about this, but.
We have talked about it, but, so in doing our request for qualifications and making sure that we were doing everything as prescribed by Arkansas state law, looked at the legal language of the state statutes about audit services, and there's a couple things. One is that annually, or on an annual basis, the city must elect to do a comprehensive annual financial report versus just the legislative reports, regulatory reports that legislative audit requires. So it's an annual election that's supposed to be made. I don't know if that changed at some point in time and we just hadn't picked up on the change, but we know now. So annually we will run a resolution to make that election. Of course, at this time we also have certain fidelity bonds that require that reporting. So that's part of it. And then the other side of it is that, and Missy can kind of chime in here a little bit because I did work with her on looking at this language. Part of that same section of law also indicates that the council should be the one to select the audit firm. And so what we've kind of drafted here is a resolution that we will run annually to both elect to do an annual comprehensive financial report and to select the auditor for that year's report. This particular resolution is for 2 years because we're going to do 20 and 21 back to back this year. The mayor and I kind of talked about the timing of when these would run on future resolutions, possibly after the annual, like in a normal year, once we're caught up. So next year, or well, this year after the 2021 or 2020 and 21 reports are run, the council would go ahead and elect make that election and select a firm for 2022's audit so that we can get on someone's schedule and make sure we have funds budgeted correctly and all of that stuff. And so more likely than not, the resolution in the future would come the year before the audit would. So, and then we also included with this resolution a little bit of the information out of the request for qualifications from BKD, which after doing a request for qualifications and reviewing the firms that submitted qualifications, BKD has a whole sector that focuses on public sector and government accounting, and that really stood out to me. I also know that they provide support throughout the year as GASB does rule changes, which we've already got one for 2022. Our audit for 2022 will have new lease rules that we will have to abide by how we report leases. And I know that GASB is looking at changing what we all know as GASB 34, which is the whole like rules about how to prepare the annual comprehensive financial report. So they may in the next several years change the rules on the entire reporting for us again. And so it's really important that the city have a partner in an audit firm that can help guide us through those changes and make sure that we're staying compliant with not only state law and GAAP, but with those GASB rules as well. And we have invited him here this evening. If you guys have questions that you would like to ask of them or of me, we wanted to open that up for you guys. Did I miss anything, Mr. Mayor? That we wanted to?
No, I think that covers it, other than if y'all wouldn't mind just introducing yourself real briefly.
Yeah. David, go ahead.
Telling us
Good
a little bit
evening.
about yourself.
I'm David Coleman. I'm a partner at BKD. I have been in public sector. I've been in auditing for approximately 20 years. This is all I do is public sector. So public sector and not-for-profit. So I don't do any tax returns. I don't do any construction company audits. I don't do anything like that. I audit entities like you all. And so that keeps me busy all year round, pretty much. And then we do occasionally do a few not-for-profits, but most of the time I audit governments. We have a strong Arkansas presence. We currently audit the city of Little Rock, the city of North Little Rock, the city of Conway, and multiple cities in northwest Arkansas. So we like to think of ourselves as the firm of choice for public sector in Arkansas and in the country. So that's a little bit about me. I've got Kyle Elmore here also with me. He's an audit director here in our Little Rock office. He also focuses on public sector and not-for-profit, and he will be assisting me with this engagement.
that's a little bit about me.
Perfect, that works.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilmember Gardner?
Motion to adopt resolution 2022-24.
I've got a motion. I'd entertain a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. There is some discussion. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, what is your smallest municipal client?
In Arkansas,
Yes.
what is our small one? Green, Pine Bluff. We do work for Pine Bluff.
We do some work for Pine Bluff. We don't do the full financial statement audit, but we do the single audit for Pine Bluff.
Yeah.
I don't know, or Jacksonville.
Yeah, Jacksonville as well. Jacksonville's a similar size to you all. I spent about, I didn't tell this in my bio, but I'm from Arkansas. I grew up in North Little Rock I put myself through college working out here at Target. Now it's Dillard's. But I moved off to Texas for 10 years with a firm, and I audited several smaller entities in Texas. In Arkansas, the smaller entities that aren't required to have audited financial statements on a timely basis. Some of them go to legislative audit, as you know. Others that want timely financial statements and need our audit services, have federal grant funds, want to keep those audits up to date, they hire us.
Okay. Is it possible to do an audit with the legislative audit and then have you all help in the preparation of the ACFR? ACFR?
Yeah, I mean, that probably would be possible. I don't know why you would hire us and then do that. I know you're a few years behind. So, when I visited with Liz and the mayor the other day, my number one goal is to get you up to date.
Right. And
get you all up to date to where, you're not missing an opportunity that requires audited financial statements. You never know what comes along. I've driven through your community. You have a lot going on here. I don't want to see you miss out on something because you don't have an audit.
Right.
Also, the ARPA money that you've been talking about, that has stringent audit requirements on it. And sometimes when you get behind on your audits, and particularly your federal audits, sometimes agencies can say, well, we're not going to look at this entity to give them grant funds. So it's very important that a growing city keep up with their audits. We provide you feedback on our audit, so you can help, you can make decisions to govern the city.
Okay. I have every confidence that you all are probably the most competent municipal auditor in the state, probably, and so I have no problem with that at all. I'm just, I'll be looking at mainly the cost, and I've tried to encourage the city to think about legislative audit for us, and I've never been able to really get my hands around why we can't do that, and so that's going to be the main questions I've just got for our own folks. But
I can try to answer that. I don't know if I can.
Yeah, I'm not asking you, but
okay.
if you want to address it, go ahead.
Well, we do a gap audit, and so a lot of your bond documents, and I think some of your fidelity bonds require a gap audit. Legislative audit does not do gap audits.
Okay.
So we're going to do the same thing. We take our job very, very seriously here. So, I warned Liz, with us coming in, you're probably going to have findings in the first year. I'm probably going to be up here explaining to you things that you need to improve on. That's probably going to happen the first year. And it just, we've been in this situation before where cities have been behind. And we've come in and got them caught up and got them on the up and up. And I think we can do good work for you all. And I think we'll do a great job for you, and you'll be happy with us.
Good. All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there any additional discussion?
Yeah, I was wanting to ask you and the city finance director a couple of questions. Can you say who the other candidates were for the audit?
The other firm that submitted a request for qualifications is EGP PLLC, based out of North Little Rock. I've actually worked with EGP before. They're a wonderful firm. They just didn't quite have the specialty in government accounting that BKD did. So when you put the two qualifications next to each other, there was just kind of an obvious difference in that field. They do a lot more nonprofit work, which is how I've worked with them in the past as well.
What was their quote? Can you
We did a
tell me?
request for qualifications, so we didn't get pricing from anybody. We simply looked at qualifications, and then you select the most qualified candidate and move into a pricing after that.
So with the RFQ process, so unlike bidding process where you're mandated to go with the lowest bidder unless they're not a reputable company, the request for qualification under state law removes price from the initial selection of an auditing firm. So and other professional services. So you look at their qualifications. Once you select your top firm, you can negotiate with them on price. To get the price and to negotiate on price on number 2, you have to rule out number 1. So we don't get with the package a quote or a price because we're not supposed to be, I mean, price is obviously a factor, but when initially selecting, you choose the number 1 firm you want to work with, then discuss price. We can discuss price with number 2 if we've eliminated number 1.
Okay. What are we currently paying for our 2019 audit?
The 2019 audit was $29,000, and that did not include single audit fees.
Did not include what?
Single audit fees, and that was with Kraft. Yeah.
Okay, so about 29,000.
I should say, and we haven't really discussed this, but Kraft has partnered with EGP on this 2019 audit. So the audit report that you're receiving will be from EGP, even though the engagement was with Kraft Beach.
Yeah, I'm not sure how familiar the rest of the council members are, because I spoke with you and the mayor for about an hour to try to get up to snuff a little bit on all this. So dive in. It's our responsibility. The financial situation of our city is our responsibility, and so we need to be actively involved. So if you've got any questions about what's going on, this is not a situation where we should be passive. We should help in do more than help in making the decision on the auditors. So I encourage you, if you've got any questions, to ask them. And one thing, also the 2 resolutions together is one here to go with BK and D, and then the other one is an audit resolution. So both of those have to be passed, I would assume. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so let me make sure I understand this resolution for the amount of money. It's current budget is for $84,000. The resolution's for $83,000 to add to that, making a grand total of $167,000. Is that a total of 2 audits?
That's a total of 3 audits.
That's a total of 3 audits.
Because there was the rollover funds from the 2018 that we finished in February, the engagement or the balance of the 2019, it's actually 4. The total budget, when you look at that total budget, that was the final completion of 18, the balance remaining on the 2019 engagement, and then the 2 engagements for 20 and 21.
Okay,
as well as the actuarial service fees and adding additional fees for at least 2020 and possibly 2021 to be a single audit. So 2020 is going to require a single federal compliance audit. Between the CARES Act and the FEMA grant and some other small federal grants we hit that $750,000 threshold. 2021, we have all of the ARPA funds. So the Treasury is still kind of trying to figure out what their rules are as far as audits on all this ARPA money. So that includes the fee for doing a federal compliance audit for 21 as well, which we may or may not have to do a full compliance audit depending on what Treasury decides.
Okay.
So I kind of took in all contingencies related to audit services to get us through the end of this year. And then next year it'll be closer to probably a $65,000 to $70,000 annual budget.
Okay, so about what are we gonna be paying for and Baird Kurtz and Dobson for the 2019, 2020 audits each year?
2020, it would be 2020 and 2021.
Yes.
Did not bring that quote in here with me. I think
I'm just trying to get a handle on how much.
58,000.
Plus-
68 in total?
58.
58 per year?
Yes.
plus
58 per
7,000
year.
for the compliance audit.
Yeah.
Yep.
58 per year plus 7,000.
For the compliance audit, your specialty, your federal
Okay.
funds audit, which is, you're required to have done since you received the
All right.
coronavirus and ARPA funding.
What are we paying Kraft and Veach for the 2019 audit? About 29? Is that
29.
right? Okay, so we're basically doubling our audit expense.
We are, but we also haven't bid audit services and,
It was 5 or 6 years.
You know, that's a lot of money. I know we need to get the 2020 and 21 done and get that in the hopper, but I still would like us to consider going to legislative audit thereafter. And please give me the whatever documentation that says we've got to have
So-
a private audit
our
for.
2015 bond documents at this point in time require an annual comprehensive financial report. That's the language that is in the bond documents.
Okay,
So, and that gets uploaded every year when we complete it, it gets uploaded to Emma. So all of the bondholders are looking for those gap financial reports. Gap financials is what they're used to looking at in the business world. And so that's the whole idea of doing that reporting as a government entity, is moving us from the fund level to those gap financials, so that when bondholders and people like that are looking at these financial reports, they can compare kind of apples to apples, what are they looking at for their investments. So that's one of the biggest reasons that you would do an annual comprehensive financial report versus just legislative reporting. Obviously, if you have federal funds, then you have to do the compliance audit as well. You can do leg audit and a compliance audit, but here's part of where you're going to run into challenges. Legislative audit schedule, we would probably have an audit completed within a year and a half or so after year end, if they're running on schedule. A federal compliance audit's due by September 30th the year following. So in order to do the leg audit and then do the compliance audit, the federal compliance audit, your timing's off. So when he was talking about timely financials, that's part of the reason that you hire an audit firm, is that we'll have a financial report completed probably within 6 months of year end, once we're all caught up and going.
And that's good, and that's how it should be.
And that's how it should be. We're not gonna have that timing if we just go to legislative audit. They have,
Somehow or another, everybody's been patient with us being like 3 years behind, so
Yeah.
I'm just would
Yeah.
point that out.
the other
so.
thing, and David didn't talk about this, but and you can see it in the audit report we have now, but legislative audit produces a list of audit requirements that a private audit firm in Arkansas must use that same checklist that legislative audit uses to do their audit, to do the private audit. And so in the back of your annual comprehensive financial report, there is an additional audit letter that's the compliance with certain state acts. And so that's the auditor's affirmation that they have reviewed that checklist that legislative audit produces and says you have to check that all of these things are happening the way the law says they're supposed to happen. And so that, we're getting the legislative audit aspect of it plus some, in many ways. So, it is up to the council. I know the mayor has looked into what it would take to remove that compliance from our bonds. I think we could do that at some point in time. You'd have to go to the bondholders, I believe, and ask their blessing. At this point in time, I feel like we need to get caught up. We need to get our S&P rating reinstated and do some other things like that, before you would want to look at doing something like that.
I think I'm gonna buy off on this to get these 2 audits done, but I still wanna dig into that, okay? So, we got ourselves into a jam, and we didn't realize what our problems were. And so we appreciate you guys maybe coming in and helping us get out of this, so. All right, thank you. I think that may be all I've got.
Thank you. Councilmember Holt?
I'll be brief, Ms. Mathis. Now, for clarity, this is the new audit team replacing the previous audit team. Am I correct, or is this an addition?
No, this would replace the auditor we've been using for the 2020 and 21 audits. So the audit firm we've been using is finishing the 2019 report right now.
So the gentleman said a few minutes ago that he probably would be up here helping us, or maybe telling us some things that we need to correct or move. And the process, this is 2015 when I became a city council member, and we have been, as you know, have been through a litany of absolute, unbelievable. So we didn't know anything for months and months and months. We knew nothing. And quite bluntly, in all due respect, when we got our audit, we didn't get an audit. We told that there was some things on page 18 and page 83, and, it really didn't tell us anything in all due respect. So if I have no objection, yes, it is a lot of money. I don't know where we get it all, but anyway, it's, we have got to have the answers. Let's be able to tell. I get asked questions, and I hate to look like just, what am I supposed to say when I don't know? But I'm not being told. So I need the help from the auditors to help you, and let's get the answers out here and know what's going on and how long is it going to take, and when can we report the results of it. That is our responsibility. It's on the backs of our 8 people here. And so that's all I have to say, but I hope if that's what we're doing, let's come in and let's, with a clean slate, give them everything that they need, and then tell them, get up here and tell us what's going on.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And just for the record, or anyone listening, we did get the comprehensive annual financial report was passed. I think when Mr. Holt was talking about the report, you were talking about the presentation to the city council? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Tierney.
Yes, what is your anticipation when we will be completely caught up should we do this?
We're looking at August, September.
Great, thank you.
And that was one of the original questions, was how quick, if we could get a little bit of sweat equity from them.
Yeah,
and they're promising on the record, right?
I will say this, you hire me, we're gonna come out here, we're not gonna leave until it's done, okay? And then, the first year, the presentation will probably be a little bit longer than you're used to, because we're gonna dive into some details. But, as long as management commits to me that they will give us what we need, we will get you caught up this year. We have the people to do it, we have the expertise to do it, and we will do it.
Thank you. All right, Councilmember Mosley.
Yeah, one question for the city attorney here. This here, it says, we resolve to require the city of audit to be done in accordance with all the accounting board and all that. Is that just applicable to the years 2020 and 2021? We're not saying that for on down the road at this point. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I'm looking back to see exactly what language you're
Yeah.
referring to. Are you at 2022-25 or?
24. As I gather that this is just addressing those 2 audit years, 2020 and 2021, but I just wanted to make sure we're not committing and ruling out the possibility of legislative audit at some point.
I think we've looked at that with the individual agreement with them. It looks like the whereases include that it's just 2020 and 2021. In the whereases, it specifies 2020 and 2021, and that's my understanding of the agreement, is that we are retaining them for those years.
Okay.
And then going forward, we anticipate a resolution similar to this each year, that we envision will be probably presented at the time that we get the audit
All right.
report.
Okay.
And that's based on the language of the state law that says it's an annual resolution that must be done annually, so.
All right, thank you all. Appreciate it. I'm done.
Thank you. Any additional discussion on resolution 2022-24? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Next order of business is resolution 2022-25, a resolution to amend the 2022 general fund budget. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2022-25, a resolution to amend the 2022 general fund budget.
All right, this is the resolution regarding the audits that were mentioned. Is there any discussion on this?
Motion to approve resolution 2022-25.
Second.
For the motion and second, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming out, and look forward to working with you. The next order of business is Resolution 2022-26, approving a Metro Little Rock Alliance contract. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2022-26, approving an economic development service contract between the City of Maumelle and Metro Little Rock Alliance.
Thank you. Mr. Cheshire, you want to come down? Thank you for your patience and hanging out. It's been a little while, I think, since you've been here. If you could introduce yourself to the council and tell us
Yes,
about
thank you, Mayor and members of the council. I'm Jay Cheshire. I'm President and CEO of the Little Rock Regional Chamber of Commerce, part of the Metro Little Rock Alliance, a marketing alliance for the Central Arkansas area that we've used very successfully over the last several years to market for new projects, just like the one announced here last January with the Tractor Supply Project. So wanted to walk through very quickly some of the activities that we're currently underway. We're in the midst, I was telling Courtney, who, oh, by the way, is a wonderful addition. Thank you for bringing Courtney home. So we were happy to have her back here in Maumelle. But I was telling her earlier that this afternoon we actually hired a new economic development vice president that will lead this work. I'm engaged in our economic development work, but on a day-to-day basis, we have someone that's doing that. Our previous economic development director was hired away by Trex, a company that was announced at the port late last year. So the new person will be announced hopefully in the next week or so, but we have someone who is, as of tonight, has accepted. Waiting for the dotted line signature to make sure before we announce it. I've had that happen in the past, so we're excited about our work with Maumelle. One of the things that obviously we're really pleased about is the diversification of industry and the jobs associated with that. I was just beaming, if you couldn't see me, in the back of the room when your now newly found auditor was talking about working his way through college at a facility here in Maumelle. Well, obviously, the more of those that we can create, the more opportunity that we give to all young people, not only from an education standpoint, but also as a career itself. And so last year was extremely successful, even with COVID. We never quit working economic development projects. Our pipeline, as Courtney can attest to, is actually larger and deeper today than it's ever been in the 17 years that I've been here. One of the things that I'm going to implore you guys to work with Courtney on and with all of us is creating more sites for these types of projects. Gone are the days when a company would come and look at a piece of farmland and claim that that was a site and then move on that. Today we have to look at utilities, we have to look at logistics, we have to look at zip codes, we have to look at EMSI, data analytics for workforce. And so all of those things come into play with this contract that you have in front of you. Obviously, the little over $5,000 that this contract represents for Maumelle is a significant amount of investment in our better than $300,000 budget. We appreciate your past support. Obviously, it's been, hopefully, we believe, good for Maumelle and good for all of us to do this together. When we're out recruiting for industry in the nation and the world, we're recruiting to what we call Metro Little Rock, which is effectively everything within a 60-mile radius of us tonight, because the reality is our workforce comes from all of those places. Our sites come from all of those places, and it's best that we show a unified front. We'll be going to London in July for the Farnborough Air Show, where we'll be doing digital marketing to not only specific companies there looking at potential aerospace opportunities in this area, but we do that also with site location consultants. So this money, this funding, this contract that you have before you helps fund that work, and we really appreciate your partnership, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Is there any questions? Councilmember Mosley?
Is this the, basically the same agreement we do every year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Although I'm not sure if we did it the last year or two, did we? Okay. Okay.
Okay. I think that's all I've got.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming out. If there's, at this point, I'd entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 2022-26. Did you get that? Did you get that? We got a motion and a second.
Tie.
Councilmember Mazzoni? Oh, is that what the button was for? All right, any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting Resolution 2022-26, say yes.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you for coming out. Next item of business is the Resolution 2022-27, amending the 2022 general fund budget. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2022-27, a resolution to amend the 2022 general fund budget.
Thank you. This is a regular general fund budget amendment not related to ARPA. As we were sitting down not too long ago and talking with the IT firm that we've engaged, it was discovered that we did not have some critical backup for some of the WatchGuard software. Is that correct, Chief? And that is the software in the system that allows us to back up video recordings, dash cam recordings. We had an issue a number of years ago where that was corrupted and we lost all video evidence. We had, I thought, spoken thunder to the, and we thought we had it resolved and backed up. It's a proprietary backup system. Once it was discovered that we did not have that, we immediately ordered it. It's en route right now. To pay for that, we're having to take away from other items in the police department if this is not budgeted. Chief, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? Or did I cover it? Okay. So just a little background on that. If there's no discussion on this, I'd entertain a motion to adopt 2022-27. We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none. Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please. Or I'm losing my mind. All those in favor of adopting Resolution 2022-27 say yes.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries. We are now moving on to Resolution 2022-26, expressing a willingness to utilize federal aid funds. Madam City Clerk?
Mayor, it should be Resolution Number 28. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2022-28, a resolution expressing the willingness of the City of Maumelle, Arkansas to utilize federal aid surface transportation program funds.
Thank you. Typically, so what this is regarding the Metro Plan grant that we have for the White Oak Crossing roundabout. typically what has happened in the past, is when we get the original engineer's estimate, they're making that estimate based on the prices at that time, plus a little bit of cost increase. Any cost increases that occur at that time, we typically go back to Metro Plan, and it's just voted on internally and almost always approved. It's been approved in any incident that I'm aware of that the city has had. Unfortunately, what we're seeing across the region, country, the world, is that these construction costs are going up. Now, so what Metro Plan does each year is they will allot in these grants a certain amount of money. If you have a project or two where the cost increases, you can absorb that cost increase. This time, however, due to the large nature of the cost increases for all of the grants, they came up with a new system, which is to say any overages that are occurring rather than being handled internally should be applied for again as a second issuance of grant. So we're still good. I included the letter that we received from Metro Plan a little while back, awarding the $1.275 million for the project. We now anticipate the costs are going up from, are increasing by that amount. So what we want to do is apply for that difference in the cost between what was originally approved and what the costs are now estimated to be. So the original cost estimate for that roundabout was 1.5. The new cost estimate is $2.18 million. And I've included the quantities and unit prices as they've adjusted. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, their letter talks about a match with $318,750 from the county. Is that something that is the county going to chip in on this?
No, sir. That would be it's from the city, but it's actually prorated out to be the city of Maumelle and the city of North Little Rock. I assume they just used boilerplate, and the letter they sent right before us went to one of the counties.
Okay, so that's really...
That would be awfully nice, though. Maybe I
Yeah.
can ask Judge Hyde.
Okay, so that's really supposed to be from the city then.
Yes, sir.
All right. What do you think our cost is going to be by the time this is all said and done?
The cost estimate that we have here is, it's included in your packet. We got that fresh from the engineering firm. And so I have no information that would make me better positioned to estimate the cost than their cost estimate, which was $2,182,341, which is not just the cost for the construction, but also utility relocation, right-of-way acquisition, and some utility connections. One of the issues that we're having with the utilities is they want full final approved plans before they go. It's similar to the issue we had with the other roundabout, where we can't get a concrete price until until it's closer to being built.
But a ballpark would be 20% times that 2.1 million?
You're talking about the city's
Yeah, what are...
part? So it was 319,000. It now goes to 436,000. That 436,000 is split between Maumelle and North Little Rock, I believe, at 75-25. So
We've got the 75?
yes, sir.
Okay.
And that is based on the the amount of the impacted area in the municipality that it's in.
Okay, and that will eventually pay our share. We'll use money in the street fund?
Yes, sir, that's the intent.
All right. That's all I've got. Thank you for finding this grant.
No, it's the same grant. We,
Yeah,
uh,
or keep finding it. I'm glad it's still moving along. Thank you.
thank you. Councilmember Gardner?
I know this has been in planning and design for a number of years. Has the firm given us an estimated timetable of when we may actually see this project moving forward?
Yeah, so I've been trying to log into my computer, anticipating that question. I meant to get it today. Yes, so we are currently, we've got rights of way approvals, so that we are looking at, so we know the very specific location of it, which shows we're pretty far along. It sounds like you'd know that at the beginning. But, so we're working on acquiring the rights of way, and let me see if I can get a more soon is the question. I can get you all the more specific date. Or, since Councilmember Mazzoni had something to say, maybe by the time he's done.
Yeah, my question is, have they given us a kind of a warm fuzzy of what percentage chance we have? We put a new grant in. Obviously, everyone's putting new grant in. There's only so much money they have. So, they have to have some idea of.
Well, they is the board which consists of all the mayors and county judges in the Metro Plan region. So each year they get a certain amount of dollars. They use that and they assigned it to all the cities and counties. The next year, I would presume there's an extremely high likelihood of getting it because you've got a lot of mayors and judges that are starting projects. So what they'll do is take all these overages and just reduce the amount of new projects being given, would be my assumption. But it's a feisty bunch from time to time, and a very dull bunch from time to time. Because of me, of course. I tell you what, I can get you that information at the next meeting. It looks like the time frame that we're putting on the application shows utility and rights of way, which is the actual relocation of some of the utilities in rights of way this between October and December, and then start a construction from January to March. And we're hoping that is the well-extended time frame. One of the issues we're having is it's great when you get federal grants. It's not so great when you have to go to RDOT and submit something and wait for approvals. The best example I can think of is we've got that sidewalk, the trail that we're connecting Club Manor to Lake Willistine. You all remember that? Remember it was do or die. We had 4 or 5 months to have that project obligated. We turned in to them in December 30% plans. This is a relatively short stretch. The plans were 4 pages long, and it took 5 months to get RDOT approvals back. There's just a ton of COVID money out there and a ton of projects, and so it's taking a little while. It's taking a long while to get back some feedback because they're busy. So that time frame is what we're sort of anticipating getting everything back. But yeah, so.
Motion to adopt resolution 2022-28.
I've got a motion second to adopt, and that was Councilmember Tierney. I think I spoke over you. Councilmember, we've got a motion second to adopt resolution 2022-28. Any additional discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. That concludes new business. Really quickly, in the FYI, I just wanted to point out we had a resident that came at the last meeting to report to us water quality at his residence. I reached out to CAW following that meeting, who went out and did a water quality test. Those test results are in here, and then they showed that it was well within the EPA requirements, and just encourages everyone to, if you have a water filter, you need to make sure we're swapping those out because it dechlorinates the water, which means it's more ripe for bacteria growth in that post-filter than it would be pre-filter. So thank you to CAW for getting on that so quickly. And is there any council member comments? Councilmember Gardner.
Just want to give a tip of the hat to Sarah Smith for one of the coolest, loudest experiences in the council chambers last week. That was a really cool experience when Maumelle Charter took over City Hall. I'm sure y'all weren't ready for them to be gone, but it was a really cool experience, and I've heard a lot of compliments from the third graders. If the third graders are telling you that they had fun, then they had a good time. So that the way it was designed and organized, they learned a lot and had a good time. So thank you for doing all that.
Thank you. And just for a little bit of context, we had the third grade toured the building, and Sarah made sure that, I mean, we had a mock city council meetings. There was booths set up. It was really a team effort spearheaded by Sarah. Thank you to council members Tierney, Shin, and Gardner, all for showing up and participating in what was the most fun I've ever had in a city council meeting. And I said it's probably going to be one of my favorite days in being mayor. In particular was a room full of young third graders reciting the Pledge of Allegiance made us sound like we were just dull. They were energetic and excited. Amusingly, we did the mock trial or the mock city council meeting twice, and it was over whether or not to build a park. And so we thought it was a no-brainer. The third graders are going to want to build a park in the downtown area. Well, one of the classes voted to build the park and the other one didn't. And it was interesting to hear some of their discussion about why they did and did not. And so it was a lot of fun. Thank you, Sarah, for putting that on. Thank you, Councilmember Gardner, for bringing it up. Councilmember Mosley.
Yes, sir. I noticed we got curbing in and all that stuff along Crystal Hill, and I was wondering if they're going to make they suggested maybe June 1st they'd have it all done? Or?
Well, it's June. So so first of all, they were out there this morning to lay asphalt. Unfortunately, y'all may know it rained yesterday, and so that meant they couldn't lay the asphalt. That wouldn't be the entire way, but they couldn't lay the asphalt down. So I think we're trying to reschedule it for Wednesday. Is that where next week? Tomorrow. Sweet. So we'll have asphalt going down tomorrow. I heard a blood oath or a pinky promise back there. That will go from basically Maumelle Boulevard down past Janet Watkins' house, and she's the last resident in that on Crystal Hill in that area. We have more project down the road. The June 10th date was the date that it was anticipated if every day was perfect weather. So we've got either a change order in my email box, or coming in that'll add those rain days and days where they couldn't do work for reasons outside of their control to that date.
Okay, so it may all get finished maybe August or something like that, you think?
We do happen to have the engineer on the project here who may be able to give a better. Come on down. And give everyone your cell phone number, please.
Good evening, Roy Andrews, 3 Monarch Drive. I am in the process of working through the change order to get the dates added to that. I can't tell you when that end date is yet, that those rain days are going to add. Just like it did rain last night, Cranford had showed up ready to start. They had probably 15 guys on site this morning ready to lay asphalt, but it was just too wet. So they lost today. The contractor was able to get a few driveways taken care of and a few other things done, but was not able to lay that asphalt. So we're in the process of trying to figure out those additional rain days, and they have done a good job recently to try to step up and get the project finished. And they're trying to work every day they can.
Now, are you the project engineer on this? Is that how that goes?
I'm one of the inspectors.
An inspector, okay. Who would be considered the project engineer? Is there
It'd
such
be
a?
Eric Holloway.
Eric Holloway is?
Yes.
Okay. What happens after the asphalt? What else would need to be done?
Well, that gets this one section done. We still have to get curb and gutter and gravel done on the other side,
Okay,
as well as past Miss Watkins all the way down to the end of the project. We still have curb and gutter. All the storm drainage, pipe has been installed, but we don't have all the boxes, curb inlets. Those are not all done, but we've got those to do, curb and gutter to do. We still have gravel to do. Still have some earthwork to do down past Counts Massey as well.
okay,
But this lower part, which makes it a little more difficult, has been slower due to rain. Just like with the rain we had last night, not only being wet, but they had to get in and fix some gravel that had washed in a couple areas and get topsoil off the gravel and get it cleaned up. So they took a good part of the day just getting ready again after they were ready on Friday.
okay. All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Anything
you,
else?
sir. I didn't hear you pass your cell phone number out so that everyone can call you. Councilmember Mazzoni?
Yes, are we tracking because this has been a long contract from the beginning, all the canceled days and all that through? Because this has been
No, so,
very long.
it's, very long. That's an understatement. So we did, amend a few months back the agreement. So there was a long delay that was not the contractor's, fault while we were waiting on, utility relocation related issues. As a result of that, we eventually came in and gave the new start date. So we had the engineers look at the project, what needed to be completed. They gave a date that they thought was a realistic estimate of when the project should be completed. I chopped it down for fun, and then gave it to the contractors, and that was the June 10th date. And so at that moment that we did that, that excused or removed from consideration any delays beforehand. So whether it was a rain day or a delay they couldn't work because they were waiting on relocation, those are no longer being counted. So we're not going back from now to the beginning of the project, we're going back from now to when we made that amendment a few months back. Thank you. Any additional council member comments? City attorney comments?
No comments.
City clerk comments?
No comments.
I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no.